Here is advice from a woman who sold her company for $250 million. And it has everything to do with the inner game of entrepreneurship. I was just at this event in Los Angeles, California. We were staying in this beautiful mansion in Bel Air. In fact, little side note, this is nuts. This mansion cost $100,000 per month to live there. It makes you think differently when you're in an environment like that. And now there was entrepreneurs, amazing human beings that were doing 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures and beyond. And all of them were making a really big impact and difference in people's lives. While I got a lot of insights and lessons from just being surrounded in that environment, there was one core lesson, one core insight that was true amongst all of the entrepreneurs who are currently crushing it, making all the money, changing a lot of lives that they had in common. And I want to share that with you today. One of the things that I found super awesome is that they shared the good and the bad. You know, a lot of people like to just pop up the Stripe screenshots, or they want to share the mansions and they want to share everything that's going amazing. What I really appreciated about these entrepreneurs were, especially Ali Webb, the one that sold, she was the co-founder of Dry Bar and sold it for $250 million, was they shared the bad. They shared the things like the ebbs, the inevitable ebbs that we all go through as entrepreneurs. And they help walk through their mindset and, how they overcame the things that crush a lot of entrepreneurs. It's really easy to do things when it's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like when things are going good, when we're in flow. But when we have those inevitable things that blindside us, right? The obstacles, the adversity, the things that just hit us, that will happen. It has to happen. We're human beings. How do you get through that, right? How do you get through the down months in business? How do you get through the personal problems that oftentimes show up as business problems? How do you get through that? And they were really good at exposing that. And I know it's true in my life. I've had a lot of ebbs, a lot of failures, a lot of obstacles, just like I'm sure you have. I have developed my own ways to kind of get through them, but hearing what they have done and their perspectives was really eye-opening for me. And I want to give this to you. Now, the core theme that all of them had, like Ali, Hamza, and every other entrepreneur that I met there, was authenticity. Was sharing from a place of authenticity, even if it meant them losing followers. In fact, I remember Hamza saying, if you want to post something and you're scared to post it, or maybe you have to, I don't know if you've ever had this is true for me, where you create a video, maybe it's a reel, or maybe it's a post, or maybe it's a YouTube video, and you have to listen to it a couple times or have to read it a few times, you should post that. Because those are the things that you're really sharing something that you're a little bit scared to share. And the cool thing is when we just try to be in teach mode, and this is something that I've already known, but just hearing it and seeing it on a mass scale. And in fact, I'm not gonna lie, I could do better with just sharing some of the things that maybe I'm scared to share, and I'm going to do a better job at that within my own marketing, in my own content, in my own business. If you're scared to share something, you've got to understand that it has to be can it help your audience? A lot of people preach to be vulnerable on social media, or just put yourself out there. And that's great, but where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of fear, or wanting to be liked, or wanting sympathy? Or is it coming from a place of courage and love and wanting to help another human being through some of the adversities and failures and ebbs that you've been through and that you've overcome? Because your audience, maybe say you're in weight loss, maybe they're out there binging and they're embarrassed about it. Maybe they have these deep secrets that they're not sharing with the world, but maybe you actually have overcome them and have gone through them. And you being able to share stuff like that with your audience is massively helpful, right? I've been more open lately with, talking about when you're in ebbs and when you're stressed out growing a business. I have succumbed to, addictions like drinking alcohol, taking THC edibles. And I have done that stuff, and I work really hard now at actually doing things that are going to be more beneficial to the long run, right? Things like breath work, or things like meditation, maybe working on your physiology versus succumbing to addictions. I see a lot of people running around, they're addicted to their phones, they're addicted to social media, they're addicted to whatever. And we justify this as humans. When you see other people that are maybe way ahead of you, and they go through the same things, and you could see that they've overcome it, It's so helpful. And so I want to share with you a frame that has helped me. And this is something that I've used a lot inside the In-Demand Coach program, just, with my students. And I want to show this to you. So let me pull something up and I'm going to share my screen. So this is called The Map of Consciousness by David R. Hawkins. There is what's called a survival paradigm. And this is when people are mainly living in things like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, or pride. And then there's what's called the reason and integrity paradigm. And this is where people are living in a state of courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, and reason. And then you have your spiritual paradigm. This is where people are living in love, joy, peace, enlightenment, right? And you can see there's different energetic charges on these. Again, you can look this up. There's a book that David R. Hawkins wrote. I think it's called Power versus Force. I've never actually read the book. I've just done a lot of study and research on this. And the problem is, as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to get caught up in the survival paradigm, right? We're out there, we're facing uncertainty, we're doing things that are against the norm, and perhaps we live in maybe fear. And you'll know this because the dominant emotional state when you're in the survival paradigm is going to be things like regret, blame, anxiety, having cravings and infatuations with things. Maybe having a little hate or a lot of frustration with stuff. Maybe it's having a lot of disappointment that's showing up for you. If that's your dominant state, or if there's people around you, that's their dominant state, then it is really hard to grow a business, And this is something that was really obvious in hearing people like Ali and Hamza and all of these other entrepreneurs talk. They are totally, and I want to be clear, a lot of people think when they see these things, you go to a Tony Robbins event, it's I gotta live in joy and love, and it's that'd be awesome, but that's not the thing. But if you're in a survival paradigm right now, where you're and you'll know this by your dominant emotional state. And it's not to say that we can't drop into it. We're all humans. It's okay to have experiences. Maybe events pop up in our life. Maybe we go through a hardship where we might dip down into, guilt or grief or fear or desire or anger, but we can't live there. And so when we live there and we try to grow a business, it's literally like fighting an uphill battle. It is like rowing a boat upstream. It is really, really difficult. And I can tell you this from experience because, I went from having negative 45K in debt when we were trying to get our gym profitable. I've shared this story before. And I lived in a lot of fear. I lived in a lot of, anger and frustration for where I was. And it was just tough. And so all we really want to do is we want to get to a place of courage, So this is the fine line. If you could just move over to a place of courage or even being neutral or acceptance, you're going to find it a lot easier, right? And you're going to see your emotional state. And this is not something you can make up. This is what you have to literally feel, right? But you're going to start to have, more affirmation. You're going to know, or you're going to have some more trust within yourself, or more optimism, or more forgiveness or understanding with yourself and your situation, right? When you operate from a place like this is where you start to move forward. This is where the actions you're taking, or maybe you're inconsistent with things, they start to become more consistent. So I want to ask you, because this was a huge insight for me, is what is the core emotion fueling your work? What is that core emotion fueling your work? And so I like to think about this in 4 H's. So when you're trying to really grow and you're trying to create that consistency in your business, you want to have amazing clients, right? You want to have the revenue coming in. You want all of the things. There's 4 H's and most people start at the top, right? There is how. Well, let's start at the bottom for this. The bottom of the pyramid is heart, head, hands, and then the top of the pyramid is how. So the heart is going to be things like your nervous system, your physiology, right? How you actually feel, right? This is going to literally be how the dominant emotion your nervous system is holding on to. And we could change this, right? This is why people do things like cold plunges. This is why people do things like meditation or breath work. It helps to keep your physiology in check. It helps to regulate your nervous system. And if you're trying to grow a business off of a down-regulated nervous system, or when your dominant emotional state is in survival, again, it's really hard. And this is what most people do. Most people are chasing strategies and tactics, and that's fine and dandy. You might get some short-term gains. I certainly did. I got short-term gains when I was mainly focused on strategies and tactics. But when you start at the bottom, you're going to see life gets so much easier. Growing your business gets so much easier, right? And then we got our head, right? Head is going to be things like your psychology. These are going to be like your dominant thoughts and beliefs. What you believe about money, what you believe about growing a business, what you believe about getting clients or making sales, what you believe about time, right? Your dominant beliefs and thoughts. And then your personality. Like, how are you showing up? Which your personality is going to be largely dictated based upon your consciousness, based upon your dominant thinking and emotional state, right? You could see this easily, right? So if your dominant state is in anxiety, right, and you're like in fear and anxiety, your personality is going to probably be a little bit more timid. You're probably going to be a little bit more untrustworthy. You're going to be a little bit more stressed out and scarce within your personality. Versus if you were living, say, in acceptance, you're going to be way more understanding. You're going to be way more optimistic, right? Your personality is going to be way more fun-loving. You see what I'm saying? And so really important. And this is where, again, things like meditation can help, or just becoming aware of the emotions. And again, this was a huge theme throughout this event, is just the awareness on the limiting thoughts that we're thinking, or the limiting beliefs that we have, right? And then the third thing we have is our hands, right? So you could see it's moving up the pyramid here. The hands is going to be things that we are a little bit more controllable. All of them are controllable, but that we can actually work on, right? These are going to be the skills or the habits. So if you're a business owner, skills that like are going to build a high ticket coaching business, at least, are going to be like copywriting, high ticket sales, coaching. And then within each of those, you might have like a larger bucket like marketing. This could be like your video, your copywriting, offer creation. You see what I'm saying? Sales can be like your, DMing people to book appointments, or could be actually on like sales calls. You know what I'm saying? Coaching could be like helping shift people's beliefs, or could be building a coaching program or an onboarding system, right? These are skills, and even habits, high performance habits, things like not looking at our phone all the time, right? Putting airplane mode on when we're working. Maybe having a habit of going for an hour walk every day. You see what I'm saying? It's like the skills and the habits are the things that like start to form everything. So when we have the heart, right, we're taking care of our nervous system and our physiology. And then we have the head, we're taking care of our psychology. We're helping to up level our beliefs in the way we think about things so we can become the person we want to become. And then we start to develop the skills in the habits that are going to help take us to the promised land. The last thing we have, this is where if you already have strategies and tactics, like how to post content, right? You know how to generate leads, right? So you have a lead generation tactics and strategy. You have content strategy, right? You have a sales strategy. You have all of those things, but you're still not where you want to be. Chances are you have to work on the bottom parts of the pyramid. You either have to improve your skills, and it probably is going to be a mix. At least that's been true for me, right? You probably have to improve your skills or your habits, your psychology, or your nervous system, right? There's something that you have to work on down the pyramid. And when you get all of these pieces in the pyramid in place, the strategy and tactics start to work much better. And you don't have to take my word for it. Try it on for yourself. Like, work on this stuff. Try it on, especially if you're not where you want to be. And this doesn't mean anything. You could be at like stuck under 10K, right? And you're just trying to grow, and you're like beating your head against the wall. Or maybe you're stuck at 30 to 50K per month, and you're just like, how do I get to that next level? How do I take that quantum leap? Like, this is how you do it right here. And this is what I believe for a long time. But then hearing it and seeing it from entrepreneurs that are still following this model. They're still following this stuff. They're still paying attention to this. And they've already made, like $250 million, right? Or at least sold a company for that much. And so if they do it, why wouldn't you? That's what I'm going to leave you with today. Really key. What most people do is they focus on strategy, they focus on tactics, and it just doesn't really sit well. And so I'm going to leave you with this. There's two kinds of entrepreneurs. There's John. John is living in the survival paradigm. He's not focused on his heart, his head, or his hands. He's just strategy and tactics, living in fear, living in anxiety, living in stress. And then there's Sarah. Sarah's living in courage and acceptance, and perhaps even trying to get up into the state of love for the people that she's serving, right? Or just in general, like her emotional state. There's going to be two different kinds of scenarios, right? And I want you to do your own exercise on this. Like, how would John act? And maybe if you're John right now, it's time for you to move closer to Sarah. And then how would Sarah act in this situation, right? John's going to probably be way more inauthentic. He's going to be way more inconsistent with his content. He's going to be unprepared. He's going to be hurried. His DMs are going to be scarcity driven. They're going to be inconsistent. He's going to be frustrated all the time. His clients, he's going to overpromise and underdeliver. He's going to have no boundaries. He's going to be focused solely on the money. His relationships are going to be, he's going to be a taker, right? He's going to be irritated. He's going to be annoyed. He's going to be annoying, right? Versus Sarah, somebody that's at courage or acceptance, they're going to be more vulnerable and authentic in their content. They're going to be more consistent and generous and polarizing, right? Their DMs are going to be detached. They're going to be detached from it. They're going to be consistent, though. They're going to be fun. They're going to be caring. For their clients, they're going to over-deliver, right? Maybe they're going to under-promise and over-deliver. They're going to have clear boundaries. They're going to raise your standards, right? They're going to challenge you to be your best. Their relationships are reciprocal. They're giving. They're trusting. I want you to pay attention. Who are you showing up as? John or Sarah? And if you're showing up as John, the through line is to step into courage. And if you could step into courage, you're going to start to see your life change, your business grow right before your eyes. All right, my friend. Hopefully you found this very helpful. And if you did, hit the subscribe button. And so you get notified when we drop these videos, duh. And drop your comment below. What was the biggest insight for you? I would love to know. As always, remember, your message matters now more than it ever has before. Don't be afraid to speak it. As always, be seen, be heard, and be impactful.